So we're getting closer to Google's GDC keynote, where they're apparently going to tell us about the future of gaming. And we've actually talked a bit about some of the rumors and speculation stuff going around right now. Liam Robertson provided quite a bit of information, and then he also provided me with a bit more when I was curious about what Sega IPs that Google could be actually using to help to push their streaming service or their system or whatever they show up with here. We're kind of starting to lean more and more towards them having more than just a streaming service. A box of some kind to put in your living room is seeming more and more likely, but I would encourage people to not get completely on that train yet, as they could just show up and technically show a streaming service that works like Project Stream did. But they're doing a lot of interesting stuff now that would be an odd thing to do if you're just showing up with a streaming service. So remember last video I told you guys that Ubisoft and Sega were two companies that appear to be working with Google. And now we have the announcement that not only is Ubisoft going to be at GDC 2019, but id Software is also going to be there. And then they had other announcements we'll go over in a second as to others that are showing up there, which is, again, getting interesting. It seems like more and more announcements are starting to happen as we get closer to that keynote. Almost like for some things, they were being a bit careful about possibly leaks, or Google's being very secretive about this thing. They even put that trailer out and said future of gaming rather than just, future of game streaming, for example. It's interesting to see this, especially after that patent for that controller came out, and then somebody did like an artist rendering of it. It's certainly compelling stuff that's happening here. So this was actually announced in their Google developers, where they mention that they're going to have id Software will be there. Of course, we know id with Doom, and I had a bit of a hunch here that they might be showing up to talk a bit about Doom Eternal, as that maybe being a day-and-day launch release with whatever Google is going to be showing up here with, whether it's a system or it's just their streaming service or both. Maybe Doom Eternal launches on this device or service alongside of the other platforms. That would certainly catch some people off guard and would certainly have people look a bit more seriously at what Google's doing here. Ubisoft, of course, could show up with a number of games. We assume a Watch Dogs 3 is coming up at the end of this year. Maybe this is where they announce it. I figured that would have been at like E3, but I guess they could show up here and announce it here. Certainly is a thing that a lot of people are going to be watching, since they will be streaming this. And if you want to be, I guess, kept up to date on this and see the stream and everything, I'll be streaming it here. So if you're subscribed with like the notification thing on, you should get, or the bell on, you should get a notification when I go live for it, and we'll see what they have there. But from there, I guess we can go over a bit of the Sega IPs that appear to be on the table and some that are off the table, I guess, because it might break some hearts. But I want to mention that these would be exclusive IPs, right? Or just in some way they would make a game that's only on the platform, or that's streaming, or the system. That's at least what I'm reading from this. So keep that in mind as well, that it's not necessarily that it would not show up ever. It's just it's just stuff that they want to be able to put on all platforms as well. So the ones that would be off the table, I guess we would go with, would be the basics. Think of Sonic. That wouldn't be an exclusive one, right? Shenmue, Phantasy Star, Virtua Fighter. These are all ones that Sega wants to kind of keep as available to anyone and everyone. So if they want to make a Sonic game, they want it to be on everything. Doesn't necessarily mean that it couldn't show up on, say, the whatever Google's streaming service or system is. It's just that it would show up alongside of other platforms as well. Now, of course, we talked about the thought that they would be looking to Sega for some kind of exclusive game or IP, and it does seem like something's going on there with them. And some of the ones that I've heard have been discussed or even left on the table for that. And one is going to get some people excited. I know it's going to get people excited, but I didn't want to get people too, run away crazy with the idea, because these are talks with these. I only know that there's at least a game out there that they're working on with Sega, so keep that in mind. But Jet Set Radio was apparently talked about. A remaster, a new game, a reboot, who knows? That was at least talked about. Crazy Taxi also talked about. So I would like to see Crazy Taxi or Jet Set. That would be cool. And then a Choo Choo Rocket remaster. That'd be kind of fun. But I mean, Jet Set Radio would be the one that I would like to see. But you can think of any other IPs really that Sega has, because they only gave them a small list of games that they couldn't technically use, but everything else was on the table. So the examples I just gave you there of ones that were at least talked about are ones that we know of that were talked about. There could be others that are still out there that I haven't heard of or we haven't heard of here. So keep that in mind as well. Now, there was also something that was shown on Liam Robertson's Twitter feed that you might as well follow, because he's on this stuff too, and he's sharing a lot there when it comes to some of these things. What you're about to see right here, let me go back, is according to Liam, this is a boot animation for a dev unit. We can see Metallurgy there right away. This is a boot animation for a dev unit, okay? And I questioned it a little bit, and I'm going to explain why, because it looks like something a fan of Sega would come up with because they want another Sega system. That's what I was thinking. It looks to be like footage that was taken off screen, maybe, because it's not directly fed from it, it seems, because you can kind of see a little bit of movement with camera. But that is supposedly what this is. I can't tell you 100% if this is an actual thing, but check this out. So you're going to see right away why I feel like it's like a... Yeah, okay, so that looks like a Dreamcast thing, doesn't it? You know, like the Dreamcast spiral. I saw it and I said, that reminds me of something that a person would do who really wants another Dreamcast to do that. Would that be cool if that was the case? Yeah, these are also supposedly taken from a dev unit, which means it wouldn't even be in like the final system, for example. Cool. I mean, that's a cool boot animation. I mean, I'd be all right with that. It looks pretty neat. But I can't confirm yes or no if this is an actual thing. But kind of cool. It's just stuff that he's had sent over and everything, and he's putting it out there for everyone to see. You can go check that out on his timeline as well to see. Interesting there. Another thing that I noticed is, you may have seen this floating around now. All of a sudden, Google added support for the Switch Pro Controller, the charging grip, and the Joy-Cons as separate and together. So this was actually found in the coding for Chrome, and it's in an update. And it's being implemented so that you can use these controllers along with a lot of other controllers are also there, by the way. This would be for their streaming service that we believe is going to work directly in Chrome. So when you start up Chrome, which a lot of people use Chrome, you will actually have the option to launch their streaming service, it seems, and then you can plug in or sync up a controller to Bluetooth, as you see USB and Bluetooth, at which point you can start using. I was also interested to see that the charging grip would work through USB, so I guess Joy-Con L and R would be there, and that would plug in and run to the computer or laptop through USB. So that's kind of neat to see that. But yeah, they seem to be prepping Chrome ahead of this this GDC conference, this stream and everything they're going to do. So I guess get ready for that. I think either way, we're definitely seeing something about their streaming service that seems obvious at this point, and they're getting ready. It would be interesting to see when they launch it as well, because if they're making these changes to Chrome right now, maybe it's sooner than we think for it to launch. But one other thing that was put out there, and this got me a little excited, I'll admit. Amy Hennig appears to be attending their Developers Day at GDC for Google. And that was also thrown out there for idsoft. And then later on, they throw this out there where they're going to have a very special guest join the Google GDC 19. Amy Hennig and Raf Costa are going to be there. Now, we, of course, know Amy Hennig from several different places. Obviously, you can see there. You can read for yourself. Visceral, of course, Star Wars game, the one that got canceled by EA, that everyone was pretty excited about. And then we, of course, have Raf from Ultimate Online Star Wars Galaxies, just as an example. They're going to be there. And I know that people are curious at this point. Does this mean that Amy Hennig might be working on a project for Google and their streaming service, their console? Who knows what we're going to show up with? It's possible. I mean, it is. She's already talked about how a lot of these companies want live services, and she seems more interested in making a story-driven game, like an Uncharted, for example, after what they were working on here for Star Wars. Maybe Google realized that they could bring her in and have her create a project alongside of them for their service, because I think the more I'm hearing about this, the more it sounds like Google is at least understanding that exclusives are necessary to sell a service or system. So either way, it sounds like they're at least going to have some games for people to check out, whether it's for a local system or a stream, and that of course means we get more games. So whether you're interested in Google kind of showing up here in the gaming market, the gaming space, seriously, rather than just doing Google Play, for example, on phones, either way, we're going to have some new games to look at. Maybe easier ways for people to play these things through streaming. Like I said, streaming is not for everyone, but there might be people who legitimately can benefit from streaming right now if they don't have a platform like an Xbox or a PlayStation or even a Switch. Doom Eternal comes out and they don't even have a strong PC, but using a streaming service, they could play it. That would actually be, I think, pretty cool, pretty compelling for a lot of people to try these games out without having to invest in hardware. And then, of course, if they show up with hardware that actually looks good and you don't have to pay for online, that would be an interesting thing to see. And then you have actual third-party support from Ubisoft and, id Software and others. Well, then maybe they can enter the console market. But here's the thing. We got to get to GDC, and we have to see what they have for us. So I'll be streaming it when they do this. That's going to be Tuesday, I believe. I think their keynote starts at 1 p.m. Eastern time, and I'll go live a bit before that so we can get ready and get some predictions in here. And as we get more information that comes out, I'll keep you guys up to date here as well. So if you're interested in what this Google thing is for gaming that's going to turn out, make sure you subscribe and hit the like button on this video, guys, if you enjoyed it. Thank you so much, guys, for watching, and I'll see you next time.